Okay, so what's your name?
My name is Beau.
No, hold on. Okay, hold on. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that
good
was
enough.
it too.
Good enough. I am here with the legendary Beau Legeer. Oh, thanks for coming to Canada.
Yeah, well, thanks for hosting us. It's good to be here.
Tell us, for those who don't know you, who both follow SkyWatch and Esri, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I've been in the geospatial imagery industry, imaging and remote sensing, for about 30 plus years. I was a student and I was offered a job working at NASA, and they told me to process synthetic aperture radar data. So that was my entry into this industry.
You knew you wanted to work in space?
I did not.
So how does one accidentally get a job at NASA?
So I went to a university that was very close to the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, and they needed people to help them with their transformation from analog storage to digital storage, which meant a lot of grunt work, meant a lot of taking tapes and copying them onto disk drives and other digital media. So they needed a lot of students. So that was the entry. I needed money. They needed students. It was a great match. But at the same time, they used the same students to process their data. That was on mainframes.
Wow.
So it was an exciting time because the NASA was moving into what would eventually become their 21st century initiatives of moving away from punch cards and long cycles of development into Unix systems, Windows systems, and I became a part of that. Just happened to be in a group that was using remotely sensed data.
Wow. So then you transition into your professional career. Where does that start? Well, outside once you leave NASA.
Yes, once I left NASA because NASA adopted a technology that was made by a company in Boulder, Colorado. That technology was called Envy, and Envy was one of the early image processing systems for desktop computers and for Unix workstations. So they wanted people who were processing data to come in and show their customers how to use their technology to do that. So I joined that company. That was the beginning of my professional career, and I spent the next 20 years working at that company and its successors with mostly multispectral and hyperspectral data. That exposed me to aerial sources, satellite sources, and the methods by which people process those data.
Really cool. And our professional relationship has overlapped while you've been at Esri. Can you talk a little bit about what you do at Esri?
Yeah, so at Esri, I'm in charge of a group that is responsible for exposing the Esri GIS customer base to imaging and remote sensing sources and methods. The idea is that imaging and remote sensing can really evolve and expand GIS workflows. So it can provide new sources of information, updated information, and greater insights into the maps that GIS users make every day.
Can you talk a little bit in more detail on how your customers are using remote sensing data, and particularly commercial remote sensing data in ArcGIS today? I'm also curious about where today, how you see the split between open versus commercial data usage.
Yeah, so I'll start with probably the most prevalent use of commercial data in GIS, and that is as a base map, as the backdrop, the context of the map. Every Esri user has access to a high resolution base map, which is powered by a commercial data source. That's available just with the click of a button in every Esri platform. And that's used to give context to the map beyond just a street map or some other type of base map. So every user starts there. Now then, we also expose open data sources, and they are available also to every user at no cost. So these are the Landsat, Sentinels, NAPE data sets. So a lot of users start there. And there are some users who are doing research and exposing and deriving insights at a larger scale. That's enough. And we have the tools to do that. But more and more of our customers are looking for localized project-based solutions. And that really needs commercial data. It needs up-to-date commercial data that is sometimes higher resolution than even the base map, or has more spectral bands, which allow better extraction of information.
Mhm.
So that's where commercial data comes in to the GIS equation.
Interesting. Is it fair to say that the vast majority of your customer base, if not almost every user, utilizes a base map in some sort? So they're all exposed to a base map
Yes.
product that's powered by satellite data primarily, or NAPE, as you suggested. What percentage of those, though, do you think, or would you estimate, actually have successfully transitioned into using commercial data on a project basis that extends beyond the base map use case?
It's a small but growing percentage.
Yeah.
The early adopters were the more advanced remote sensing types that were building, that were part of commercial and government agencies that were specialists.
Mhm.
There aren't that many of them, so it was a lower percentage. Where we've really started to see the evolution was people using drones, but then also people getting exposed to the expansion of the commercial remote sensing market and hearing about expansions of legacy providers like Maxar and Airbus, also newer providers coming on and saying, I really think there's something here. I need to get into this. So I would say that every GIS user could benefit from it, but it's growing. It's a small but growing percentage right now.
And where do you see the challenges in adopting commercial, whether it be satellite or aerial based imagery into their projects or into their workflows, into their business, et cetera?
Yeah. Yeah. The challenge is there's two main challenges. One is the acquisition of that content, the actual searching, discovering, finding, and then purchasing of that content. It's not clear where you start. There isn't a single place where you start that process, and there certainly is no single place where you can just go and acquire content. So it means finding the right content, discovering what works, working with this partner or commercial provider, and then working out terms and making the acquisition. But that's just half the problem. The other half is then once you've acquired that content, how do you get it into the system? A lot of our partners have done good work to make sure their content is compatible with the ArcGIS system. But sometimes it's just a file-based compatibility. It's not a service-based compatibility, and it's not just a seamless acquisition where the data is purchased and is just in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, where a lot of our customers are managing their data. So really, it's that challenge speaks to getting the imagery as part of their system of record along with all of their other GIS content.
Really interesting. One of the use cases I really like to talk about, it's a use case I made up, but I'm sure you've seen a very similar user behavior. But to illustrate how difficult this acquisition process is, I talk about an analyst that works inside of a sort of a mid-sized municipality. They're building some sort of infrastructure project through their city, whether it be a railway, a highway, roads, etc. And the analysts, they're using ArcGIS to manage the project. They look at the base map, and they think right there on the spot, an idea hits them. Why can I not manage? Why am I not seeing the change that's happening in my city as this construction is happening?
Yep.
And the problem is that is exactly where usually the user flow stops, right? Because to your point, where do I get the imagery? How do I get it? 99% of the time, it stops at that idea there, that light bulb moment, because then to go and figure out where to source that data, not to mention all the problems that then follow it, or I shouldn't say problems, but the challenges that come and bringing that, acquiring that data and bringing it into their workflow. And so I'm excited we've been finally able to talk in public about what we've been working on over the last year with the content store. The goal there being to build and provide Esri's customers with a very simple and intuitive and frictionless way of discovering, acquiring, and bringing into ArcGIS commercial remote sensing data. And so can you talk a little bit about how the approach we're collectively taking is why you think it's the right way to solve these customers' problems?
Yeah, I think it starts with the ArcGIS customers' desires to stay within the ArcGIS platform as they're working on their project or they're working through their analysis. And the solution that we're putting together allows them to stay inside of the ArcGIS platform and run an ArcGIS-powered application, a web application, that enables the search and discovery and acquisition of data in a frictionless manner in a way that they can't really do today. And to complete the workflow, we're working hard to make sure that that data then flows into their system of record. And that is, it's critical because imagery is an asset like everything else in their enterprise, and it should be treated that way. And the way to do that is to keep it managed. And this facilitates the transfer of that data into that system of record.
Awesome. What's coming up for GIS over the next few years? Where do you see, I know Jack has this talking point about bringing the worlds of imagery and GIS together. They've been separate for decades now. As these two worlds start to come together more closely, how does that impact geospatial as an industry and any industry more broadly? What's your view on the future here?
Yeah, so I think in general, GIS, the vision of GIS in the future is that GIS and location become part of almost every business and every government's systems, like other technologies are already ingrained. So as a part of that, imagery provides up-to-date context. It provides those insights that you can't necessarily get with a static layer of features. So I think that the combination of GIS and location becoming an integral part of business systems, government systems, citizen engagement systems, along with what imagery can do to update and inform and really make those systems better, means that imagery in our industry is going to become more valuable and it's going to grow. Because as people start to adopt imagery and see what it can do, they're going to want more from it. They're going to want sensors that can derive different types of information. And that should continue the expansion of our industry.
Awesome. Oh, thanks for taking time.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.